after a bidding process. And so for those who are asking the question, that is the response. The activities for Child Month, I'm told, have been very successful thus far. The parade on June 7th is from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, and Sundays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Registration is now open for the first 25 persons. The aim of this initiative, teach persons, especially our women, how to swim, and of course encourage persons to engage in other forms of exercise as we continue to promote our communities getting fit and staying fit and keeping fit. On Saturday the 15th of June, the ministry also partnered with SL Hospitals in a pre-Father's Day screening activity. And a lot of different tests were done: blood sugar, blood pressure, HIV rapid testing, BMI and nutrition counseling. We were able to hand out pamphlets and all that. What is important is the event, yes, but what is also important is the fact that we were able to have that event using the mobile health unit that we now have, courtesy of the government and people of Japan. People sometimes ask, what is diplomacy doing? That is what diplomacy is doing. We now have a fully equipped mobile health unit that can move around the island and go to people in the communities where they are. So if you're playing dominoes, they can come right there. If you're having a kite flying up at the flats, they can come there and do your testing right there and let you know what your status is. And I think that is significant progress for the island of Nevis. We will be featuring through the health promotion unit a 20-minute news package called On the Health Line. That program seeks to provide a snapshot of activities and events that are taking place within the various departments. And that program, we're told, will be aired every Wednesday right after the evening news. And this, again, is another effort from the health promotion unit to get the word out and to let people know what is happening. As part of our summer attachment program, I should advise that 12 university students are currently attached to various departments. The program provides students with an opportunity to broaden their perspectives in health and to gain much needed practical experience. If I can switch very quickly to the Department of Labor. And I always say that you know that they're doing a good job when you don't have any confusion. Some people feel like you need confusion to know that something is happening. Government is performing and doing well when you have no confusion. And so sometimes when I hear people say nothing is happening, I say maybe that's a good thing, because it means that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Work is being done in a proper way, and it's not leading to any confusion or any outbursts in the community. And I think that's a good thing. The Department of Labor is telling me that they've been able to place 7 persons thus far. As you know, they seek to act as a reference point for people seeking employment. They say they've been able to place 7 people in full-paying jobs. They've announced that 8 divisions have decided to take advantage of the Canada Seasonal Agricultural Program this year, and that number is up considerably from what we normally get, a few, 1 or 2, and we now have 8 going to Canada this year for that, and so we look forward to that. And the 4 Seasons renovations, which are well underway, we are told at this stage we have 49 workers on site. 16 of those 49 are Four Seasons Resort estate workers, those who would have been affected by the closure. And so that is proceeding apace. I'm told here that they continue to interview. Some people have complained and said that they went on an interview and they have not been called. I'm saying please be patient. What we are told is that there are different phases. And so the initial phase was the demolition. And then they're going to get now into the construction phase where they hope to employ some additional people. An important statistic. The Labor Department is saying that they had 48 disputes of varying natures in the workplace so far this year. 48. And of those, 45 have been settled. I think that's a good record by any standard. And so I congratulate them and for the hard work that they're doing, Gary Libert and his team, under, of course, the supervision of the Permanent Secretary and the Minister. So congratulations to them indeed. Public Works, normally I come and I say a lot about Public Works. I won't say too much today except to say that they are on Craddock Road. If there's some disruption there, we apologize and ask for the patience of the people of Craddock Road. They'll be doing some work there in various stages, dealing with drainage. They're in Cherry Gardens Road. This was a road there. There's some police officers. Some of them are here. No? But there's some police officers living along that road. And I know they've complained about the dust and all that. The road was prepared, half prepared, if you will, for the the inter-primary, and the Public Works is now back there just to finish that and bring some relief to the people there in Cherry Gardens. Brownhill Phase 2, that continues apace. We have done the retaining walls and fences. I'm told that end of the work is about 70% complete at this point. The Minister of Culture, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, is here, resplendent in pink. Is that pink or fuchsia? I don't know what color he's wearing today. Salmon. Oh, salmon, I'm corrected. I thought salmon was something you eat, but I now know it's a color. So he's here, and the reason I mention him is that he would have had a very successful launch of Culturama 45 at the waterfront on the Friday, May 14th. And I believe that the festival is well and truly on. I want to congratulate, for the first time I'm told we have 6 contestants for the Queen show. We have 6 Mr. Cool, we have 6 swimsuit contestants. First time in history. We have more Calypsonians this year, over 20. We have more soca artists, over 20. We have people coming in, more junior Calypsonians as well. So it really shows that the interest is there, and I commend everyone. The Department of Youth commences annual summer job attachment program on Monday, June 17th at the St. Paul's Anglican School Hall. And this is a program that targets school leavers and prepares them for the field of work. The Department of Social Services will also host a summer attachment program for at-risk youths, and is currently in the recruitment process. If you're interested, or you know people who might be interested, please come forward and be a part of this. A delegation of 13 athletes, consistent with this government's commitment to continue to promote our young people. A delegation of 13 athletes and 3 officials traveled to the Whitsuntide Games over the period June 8th to 9th in Grenada. The Nevis team performed very well, bringing back home 8 medals, 1 gold, 3 silver, and 4 bronze. The gold in the 4x100, that team comprised Detrell Stanley, Marcus Dewberry, Leroy Chapman, and Kamali Newton. Silver on the 17 boys, 200 meters, Kamali Newton. Bronze in the same race, Khalil Roberts. Silver for the 1500 meters, Alexander Keynes. Bronze for the 800 meters, Alexander Keynes again. Silver for the under 20 boys, 200, Detrell Stanley. And bronze for the women's open shot put, Laquania Daniel. Bronze in the men's international 4x400 relay. Our team consisted of Detrell Stanley, Tyjer Liebert, Leroy Chapman, and Royston Quealy. We had some outstanding performances by Tyjer Liebert and Leroy Chapman, and we say congratulations to the entire team. We also have some excellent news from football. Our division assistant referee, Miss Yulinda Warner, will be traveling to France to participate in the equal playing field refereeing course facilitated by FIFA. The course takes place from June 26th to 30th in Lyon, in France. Ms. Warner is originally from Bath Village, and she officiates locally in the St. Kitts Nevis Premier League. She was selected by the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, as she's considered one of the most promising female officials in the Federation. We, of course, wish Ms. Warner all the very best. And then for those of you who ventured out, on Sunday, we had at the Nevis Mondo facility, we had the St. Kitts Nevis National Athletic Championships, which brought athletes from St. Kitts and Nevis together, who were all competing, of course, to represent St. Kitts and Nevis. And they not only had St. Kitts and Nevis athletes, I'm told, there was participation from Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands. So it turned out to be more of a regional meet. But certainly the athletes from St. Kitts and Nevis were vying for supremacy there. I just want to congratulate the Minister, Eric Evelyn, and his team, particularly Jamir Claxton, and the team at the Department of Sport. I believe that the only reason that we were able to attract the national championships to Nevis is because this government had the foresight and the vision to invest in that Mondo facility. And that is why I continue to say that despite the noise, we have sometimes to just buckle down and do the work. Because when that facility was proposed, and in fact when it was being built, we heard all of the usual naysayers. We were told that there would be flies from the dump. We were told that the facility would not be usable. We were told it was a waste of time. Why you don't spend the money elsewhere? But we built it, and as a result of building that facility, certainly the first phase, we can now host this type of intervention and this type of activity. And I'm told that through negotiation, this activity will now alternate So 1 year it will be on St. Kitts at Kim Collins, the next year it will be on Nevis. And to me, that is a good sign of the Federation working how it ought to work. All of us being able to benefit from what is available here. Ladies and gentlemen, just to continue to move forward in the interest of time, we have a few updates from our Ministry of Tourism. We are having a very special event that has been slated for the 14th of July, and that is the groundbreaking ceremony for the recreational park at Pinnes. This is a project that has been long in the waiting. We have talked about it for a very long time, and it has had various starts and stops. I think now we are on a good trajectory. I want to commend our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, John Hanley, and the team for their ongoing work. I also want to pay homage and say thank you to the government and people of Taiwan. They have sent here an expert who is a resident on Nevis and who is leading that project, Mr. Vincent Lai, and he has really been doing an outstanding job. What is so important about July 14th? July 14th, we will have the groundbreaking ceremony, but it won't be an ordinary groundbreaking ceremony, because no less a person than the President of Taiwan herself will be at Pinnes to do that groundbreaking herself. It will be the first time that the President of Taiwan, any president, has set foot on Nevisian soil. And I believe that that is significant for us, because we've had, I think, 5 presidents who have visited before from Taiwan. None have crossed the Narrows. This is the first time that a president from Taiwan will touch Nevisian soil. And she's coming to break the sod, break the ground, right there at Pinnes for this park. The project is a significant one for us, and is a project valued at just about $3 million US. I think of that, the NIA has committed $370,000, and the Taiwanese have committed the balance. And so I think that this is a win-win situation for all of us. And the idea is to create a park which will feature jogging trails, picnic area, children's recreational zone, a large central area which will continue to accommodate large events such as a culture arm, a food fair, and maybe the agricultural fair as well. I don't know, because the agricultural fair said they want to stay at ETW, so I'm not so sure. The project is expected to take just over 2 years to complete, and so we look forward very much to that long-awaited project. We also have the 5th annual St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week, July 18th to 28th this year, and the themed ingredient for this year is coconut. So the restaurants that will be participating will all feature coconut in some way, shape, or form. And we are told that last year almost 50 restaurants across the Federation participated, with about a third of those in Nevis. Tickets will go on sale shortly, and we hope that people go out and support. I have another major announcement, another headline. Nevis will host the 10th biannual CTO Human Resource Conference on May 20 to 22nd, 2020. You see how much notice I'm giving? It's a big event. That the 10th biannual CTO Human Resource Conference is set to take place from May 20 to 22nd, 2020. It will again be the first time that Nevis is hosting a Caribbean Tourism Organization conference, and the event has the potential to attract considerable media and tourism for Nevis. The theme is Navigating the Next Phase of Caribbean Tourism, Talent and Technology, 2020 and Beyond. Let me go on record to commend P.S. Hanley. I think he has been in the forefront of this. He has been working hard to make this happen, and I believe that these types of events demonstrate that Nevis is punching well above its weight. I can't end without mentioning the Nevis Mango and Food Festival. That is going to happen from the 4th to 7th of July. We're asking you all to go out and be a part of it. The Nevis Tourism Authority has spearheaded this event. I'm told that it begins at Cleveland Gardens on Thursday 4th with a grand festival opening. During the festival, you'll have mango cooking demonstrations, master classes, mango-themed dinners at selected restaurants, and a mango tasting experience at Cades Bay, when patrons get a chance to sample our 40-plus varieties of Nevis mangoes. On Saturday, the 6th of July, there will be a Nevis Village food tour, which will be a self-guided tour where patrons can experience the authenticity of Nevis and the cuisine of the people by following a map. So we're going to provide you with a map of all the local spots and restaurants. Barnes got Jessup, Brown Hill, you name it, and people can go self-guided and use the map to go and be a part of that. As part of this year's Mango Feast, there will be a Caribbean Mango Culinary Competition with teams confirmed from Nevis, St. Kitts, Antigua, and Barbados. For further information, please visit www.nevismangofest.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there, as I said, in the interest of time. I'm going to invite your questions for those who may have questions that they would wish to ask, and to seek to provide whatever information I can as those questions come. Let me end by thanking again the members of the press for being here. Thank you.
President, good morning to one and all.
Good morning.
My name is Dion Handy, and I am a media and news reporter. Questions about other questions here. Question number one, what is the status of the Freedom of Information Act? When will that come into force? Question number two, hurricane season is upon us. What is the status of the hurricane roofing program in Nevis, and is there any immediate plans to rebuild a fisherman's pier in Charlestown? Question number three, will the NIA be granting concessions on hurricane supplies for persons to secure life and property during this hurricane season? Concessions that would involve generators, building material, etc. Question number four, have you or any members of the cabinet met with the hundreds of workers laid off from Four Seasons who are currently on a quarter of a salary? And what is the NIA plans to lessen the hardship of these workers? Question number five, is the NIA taking new applications for the Poverty Alleviation Program, PAP? If not, why not? Shouldn't this be an ongoing program since circumstances can change overnight? Last question, question number six. Mr. Premier, we know during the last administration we had advisors, and it was clear to everyone who they were. However, there are a number of consultants working for the NIA, but it is unclear who they are. Can you say how many consultants are working for the NIA at this time? And can you reveal who they are? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hanley, as always. Let me start. The state of the Freedom of Information legislation, I think, is a question that has come from time to time, and I've indicated that it is our ambition, intention, to have that operationalized before the end of this year. As I indicated, there's some work to be done. The legislation has been passed, so legislation is law. There is, however, some work to be done to operationalize it because, for example, we need to have freedom information officers attached to each ministry. So when a request comes in, it goes to that officer. Those people are still to be identified and trained. We need to ensure that when requests come, that the mechanisms outlined by the legislation are in place. So there's still some work to be done. No different to when we sought to operationalize integrity in public life legislation, that there was work to be done. Thankfully, we're now up and running where that is concerned. The office is open, and I'm told open already for business. So freedom of information is our intention to have that operationalized by the end of this year. Hurricane season, I'm sorry, I can't even read my own handwriting. The hurricane season, the roofing program, the last update I had was that program has continued apace. I think the people who we are focused on, as I've said in the past, are those who would have reported hurricane damage at the time of the last hurricanes. We have had some folks who have come forward now that they hear that some relief is available to say that they suffered damage during the hurricane. We can't prove that. There's no way that you can establish that at this stage. The hurricanes, of course, having been some 2 years ago. And so that program is being administered through the ministry's supervised by the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and I'm told that the program is proceeding, and those that were affected and still find themselves in damaged circumstances from those storms, those are the first priority. So those people are being dealt with, and I believe that at a different time we'll have a more fulsome update when we could give you numbers. But at this stage I know that they're working, and the model that I gather has been employed is really to allow people to identify their own builders. So people identifying their own contractor, so to speak, and the estimate comes in, and once we verify that, the government provides the necessary material and funding for that contractor to do the work. So it's not that the Public Works Department is engaged in that, it is really a private sector driven, and our effort yet again to ensure that monies that are being spent are spent in the community. So that's a process that is ongoing, and I'm told some roofs have already been done. In one or two cases I'm told that we will have to construct an entire home because of how badly damaged persons were, and those are in train. As I said, I certainly will come in the future and give you the details on that. The Fisherman's Pier, I think that I can say with some certainty that that and the other small pier for where we normally would have tourists and yachts come, that we are making plans to have those fixed, and it is my intention that those will be ready by the time we have the next tourism season. We recognize that both piers have attracted some negative public attention, and we appreciate that, but we'd also say to the public that we operate with limited resources, and oftentimes we cannot move on a project until we have the ability to pay for it. And so we continue to ask for the patience of the public, but to assure the public that this government is cognizant of the needs and is working assiduously to meet the needs of the people of Nevis. And so I think that by the start of the tourism season, which is slated for November or thereabouts, we should have both of those projects completed. You asked about concessions for hurricane supplies. We have not been in the business of offering concessions for hurricane supplies, save and except that we had announced, I believe, last year that we would offer some concession on shutters. For those who wanted to bring in hurricane shutters, we had indicated that those would come in free of duty. The Cabinet has not yet considered what we will do for this season. You did ask about building materials and the like, and I don't know that you can give concession on building material before a hurricane. If that is the case, people start to build their homes before the storm, and if no storm comes, then the government and the taxpayers will be out of pocket. So what we would do is, of course, if there is a storm, we've always responded in a positive way, and we will continue to do that. But the question itself is a good one in terms of what we can do, and as I said on the last occasion, we had offered something on hurricane shutters. We will now have to look, and the Cabinet will have to consider whether we do that again this year or offer something more to cover generators and the like. But that is something that we would look at. Let's see, I'm trying to see your other questions. Applications for the Poverty Alleviation Program. My understanding was the program was never closed off, that people can still come in if they so desire. It is, however, a process, and we had invited people to come when the program was launched, because that was a time when considerable effort and resources were brought to bear, human and otherwise, and financial, to get people started on that program. We did say, and it is a federally administered program, so I want to emphasize that. It is done through Nevis, through, again, the Honorable Eric Evelyn and his ministry, but really the decision-making on that program resides in Bastille because it's a federal program. What I will say is that it was always the intention for this program that some who are on it will from time to time come off it, because it's not meant to be something for life. Okay, well, I'm being corrected. I'm told registration was closed and has not yet been reopened. So please forgive me on that. I'm happy the minister is here to correct me. But the intention is that it will be an ongoing process. And what will happen is that people who are on it now, as their circumstances improve, will come off it. And people who are not on it, because maybe their circumstances now are good, if they were to fall into difficulty, they can get on it. So it will require ongoing and constant monitoring. So the idea is that some will get on and then come off. Some will come off or not on and then get on eventually. It is intended to be a dynamic process. So that is the process, and we will be in a position when registration reopens to make that announcement. But currently registration is closed. So let me be clear, because we did the first phase, and now we're in the monitoring phase in terms of where people are and whether or not. Because we had the accusation, for example, Mr. Handley, that some people call and say, Tom getting it and Tom really shouldn't get it. You know, Harry didn't get it and Harry should be getting it. So you have to constantly go back and assess and reassess and make sure that we have the necessary mechanism and the right mechanism that is there. Let's see, what else? You asked me about advisors. My understanding is that we have 2 people currently who have a title of advisor. My colleagues will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Colin Tyrrell is an advisor in the Ministry of Culture, and I believe Mr. Truss functions as my principal advisor and cabinet secretary. So those are the 2 that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of any consultants that we have employed. Oh, Mr. Perkins, I'm sorry, I'm told. He has been there from the beginning. I perhaps was thinking more in terms of since my time. Mr. Perkins predated my tenure as Premier, and he has continued. Yes, yes. He was a consultant to the NIA before he was Speaker, because he became a consultant in 2013. I think he became Speaker in 2016 or thereabouts, and he has continued in that role. So we can identify 3 persons: Mr. Truss, Mr. Perkins, and Mr. Colin Tyrrell. I hope I've answered all of your questions. If I missed any, I'm sure you'll remind me. Yes, Mr. Lee.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Premier. Marcellus Lee from Vaughan Radio. I had a couple of questions. I think you addressed one, that was the Penis Park update.
Mm-hmm.
The other is in February of this year, the concession agreement was signed with BNL Worldwide Limited in respect of the development of the Vance Army International Airport. What is the status of that deal? And the other one is, I know we talk about the hurricane season and disasters, and the building which houses the disaster office at Long Point. I think a few years ago I went to a function there where it was renamed the Llewellyn Newton
yes.
building. There is a sign on the outside, a wooden structure, and the name was there on it, but over the years, I guess because of the weather and stuff, that has been neglected, and there's no appearance of that anyway. So I don't know what is being done to at least put this sign on the building, because as far as I know, the building was supposed to be named the Llewellyn Newton. Yeah, so what is being done in that regard?
All right. Well, thank you for bringing it to my attention. The Minister is here, the responsible Minister, the Deputy Premier, so I'm sure he has taken note, and we will seek to have that rectified. I share your recollection that that building was named for Mr. Llewellyn Newton, who we know labored long and hard in disaster preparedness, and so that is true. And so we take note of that, and thank you, Mr. Lee, for bringing that to my attention. BNL Worldwide and the situation at the airport. I, again, am not yet in a position to provide the public with an update. Why? Because we gave BNL Worldwide until this month, June, to provide to us, the administration, proof of financing. And they have, up to last week, assured me that I would have something very shortly. I do not yet have it, and I can't speak to what I don't have. We have said that our position is that you must demonstrate that you can undertake this project, and that is why we gave you a period of time. And if you cannot demonstrate that you can undertake this project, then it will be time for the NIA to look elsewhere. And we have made that very clear to them, as indeed we are making it clear to most people who come to the island and say that they are investors. We have continued to say to them, do not come otherwise than being serious and having the resources to invest. In the past, we've seen people come, say they're investors, and then they start to say, could they get money from National Bank, could they get money from SIDF, etc. We have said to them, if you're a legitimate investor, bring your money and come. And we're prepared to talk to you, but we're also prepared to make things time-bound. So, for example, when we do concessions now, we're saying 18 months. If you cannot demonstrate within 18 months that you can start your project, then you have to come back. And when you come back, you better have a good explanation as to why they weren't able to proceed. And so BNL have been told by us that they have until this month to indicate to us what the status is. And as I said last week, they promised me something. I do not yet have it, but as soon as I have it, I'll be in a position to update the public.
Just one more thing I have to get. The Bath Village Road, I know the first phase has been completed. The second phase, well, if it's the second phase, when will that be started?
Thank you very much for that question. We do not yet have a timeline. I believe that there are still some other works that are happening in Bath. We're seeking to ameliorate some drainage and other situations there. We have, and I've said to the people of Bath in the town hall meeting we had there, that Bath Village provides some complexity that perhaps other areas don't, because of how narrow the main street through Bath is and how the proximity of homes to the road. It will mean that there will be considerable dislocation of persons and considerable disruption to people's property lines. So we need a proper plan and a proper survey to do the upper side. So in a way, we did the easier part first by doing the lower end of Bath. What I can tell you is that we have the commitment from the administration, and I am under pressure as the area representative to ensure that Bath is properly taken care of. And I can assure the people of Bath that they will be properly taken care of. If the standard that I'm seeing there's any indication, Bath really will see proper roads, proper water pipes, proper water infrastructure laid there so that they are on par with the rest of what we're seeing on the island of Nevis. But I do not yet have a specific date for you, Mr. Lee, but I'm sure once the good people at Public Works have done what they need to do, we will have that date and have it ready. I see Ms. Washington coming, but before that, Mr. Hanley, I did not answer one of your questions, forgive me, about the Four Seasons workers. I just was able to read my handwriting, and I realized that the Four Seasons workers, the answer is we have not met with the Four Seasons workers as a group. We have been in touch with them through the Four Seasons itself, in the sense of information sharing going back and forth. I have stood here at this podium and made several statements. I've made statements on radio, and I've also made statements in the Parliament. Dating back as far as last December, I made a statement. In fact, the first statement on this was made by me when we had the budget discussions, indicating to people that they should ready themselves for what is happening. You say, what are we doing to alleviate the problem? The truth is that the government has limited resources. I think all of us know that. It doesn't make any sense me stand here and pretend otherwise. We have limited resources. We have a number of people who are asking for jobs and seeking work. That has been a problem. The Four Seasons is talking about some 400 plus workers that have been affected, not laid off. I want to emphasize. I say affected because they continue to get 25% of their salaries while they're not working, and they continue to have access to all of their benefits, medical and otherwise, during this period. They also get that despite the fact that they may be able to secure another job in the interim. So for those who may be working and find a part-time job, as for example those that we've already identified who are working with DCK on the construction, they will collect that and they will still get their 25% and still hold on to all of their benefits. What has the government done? We have not paid out any money to the Four Seasons workers. That has not happened, but we have sought to forego any tax or impost on the 25%. So there's no social security contribution that is coming out of that. There's no social services levy that is coming out of that. And so essentially we have tried to cushion the impact in that way to say if the 25% works out to $200, then you take home the whole 200. If it works out to 1,000, you take home the whole 1,000 without any added imposition by the government. We have also engaged with the chamber. We've engaged with the banks, and we've sought to say to them that they have to help us to lessen and cushion the impact. The chamber, we feel, can do a bit more by providing some temporary employment for some, and the banks, we're asking the banks to suspend the requirements on mortgages and car loans and the like, because everybody understands the situation at this point in time. I have written personally to every bank on the island asking for that facility, that courtesy to be extended to the Four Seasons workers, knowing that they go back to work in October. Let me, however, for the record, emphasize that whilst we've been talking about a 4-month closure, it is not really 4 months in terms of the impact on the workers. What we're gathering from the Four Seasons is that all workers who have vacation are being asked to take their vacation with full pay. So that, for example, if you had 3 weeks holiday, the first 3 weeks of June, you will be on vacation. And already I'm being told by some of the workers that I speak to on a regular basis, some of whom naturally are constituents, that the Four Seasons has already indicated to them a return date, I think, of September 16th. So they're going back to work on September 16th because the Four Seasons has said that they need a period of training for these workers. So it is a little less than the 4 months that we had anticipated in terms of the disruption to them. So they're going to take holidays for which they get full pay. Then they go into this period of getting 25%, and then they come back on the 16th of September, where again they will start to get full pay. So the period that we're talking about is really July and August. Those are the 2 months that would be difficult months in terms of these workers. And we have so far done quite a bit. We certainly will continue to consider what more might be possible, but I would urge the public to recognize that with the Four Seasons closed, the ability of government is also impacted because it means that we are getting less revenue. And so our ability to be more generous is also impacted in terms of that. But what I will say to workers who are there and who are listening, that Surrey Paving is saying they want people on the road project, DCK is saying that they're still hiring, and wherever people can find work in the interim, it's a matter for them. Some have said to me, interestingly, Mr. Hanley, that they're happy for the break. Believe it or not, a few have come and said, I'm actually happy for the break. I'm going to go off to America, see family, and spend a little time, and then come back in September to start at what will be a brand new hotel, a brand new resort. So we have people with different needs and different requirements, and as a government, we can only seek to do the best that we can and to try and be fair to everyone. And I can assure the workers that we continue to see what more might be possible, but in the circumstances, the government, from a government point of view, these are the things that we've been able to do. Ms. Washington, forgive me.
Good morning. Monique Washington, St. Kitts Nevis Observer newspaper. Let me start where you left off. You spoke about the Four Seasons workers, and you mentioned that you have written letters to banks asking them to grant courtesy to the workers. My question is, what has the bank's responses been? NEFLEC, now NEFLEC's manager, has anyone been hired to fill that position? If so, who? If not, when? And you spoke about the groundbreaking for the Pennies Recreation Park, and you mentioned a figure of the NIA contributing $370,000. Is that first in EC or US?
US.
Okay. Now, the site for the Pennies Park is the home of our local donkeys. The question is, what do
you mean the home?
Or the play field, whatever you want to call it, but we all see them there.
Yes.
How will the NIA deal with that donkey population before and during the construction of that park? I think it was either last year or this year you met with some persons from the Wyndham Grand Resort.
Yes.
Can you please give us an update on that, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Good and thought-provoking questions, as always. Wyndham Grand, I have to, they say when you get a bouncer, you either hook or duck. I'll have to duck on this one, simply because I had a conversation with the local participants in Wyndham Grand just last week. I was also able to speak to one of the principals from the outside, one of the foreign investors, who was attending the CBI, Citizenship by Investment Summit in St. Kitts. I do not have at this point an update. All I will say is that they've indicated that they will be saying something to us shortly. And so I am waiting on them. They fall into the category of those developers whom we have done all that we need to do on our side, and it is now for them to do what they say they will do. And I believe that my position has been very clear to them, and the same blunt way I'm speaking here at this press conference, I speak to them in this fashion. I say, listen, as investors, you must come in and do what you say you're going to do. The government will facilitate, the government will grant concessions, and we have done that. And so I hope to have an update for you, Ms. Washington, in due course. I cannot give you something definitive today. In relation to donkeys and the park at Pennies, I can tell you that the design that is being contemplated does take that into account. They're going to be using, they say, either vegetation or maybe low stone walls to keep out not only donkeys but any other animals that might be in that area. And so we hope that they will not be a problem. The designers are very well aware that the donkeys, as you say, vacation in that area from time to time, and so the design of the park will take that into account to ensure that not only donkeys but other wild animals are kept out. Clearly, a park of that nature is not compatible with animals because it means they're going to destroy the plants and all of that. So that is part and parcel of what we're seeking to do. The letters written to the banks, you've asked if the banks have responded to me. They have not. However, it is my hope that the banks have responded to their clients. That was the objective of the letter. So I didn't necessarily need the banks to tell me what they're going to do in relation to Monique Washington's loan. I want them to deal with Monique Washington in a way. And so far, I confess I have not had any complaints as yet. So I'm hopeful. June is now almost over. So the first month of the closure is now almost done. And I have not yet heard any complaints. So they have not responded to me, short answer. I am hopeful, however, that they've responded positively to their clients and that they're doing their part. The NEVLEC manager, I'm told that we had over 20 applications for that position and that the board is engaged in that process. It is a matter, as you know, for the board. Thus far, I believe that the board has narrowed that down, and I would hope that we can make an announcement, Ms. Washington, in short order. But I cannot today make that announcement. But again, I hope that that will be available to you and to members of the press in short order as to who the successful applicant has been and the conclusion of those discussions with that applicant. What I have been advised, however, is that the process was open, it was transparent, and that we had over 20 people from across the world who applied for the position of manager at NEVLEC. And so we hope to have an announcement and somebody installed in short order. Any other questions for me? I believe this will go down as the shortest press conference that we've had. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is, and for those who are viewing and wonder why everyone is fidgety, is because regrettably it's hot. The air conditioning has decided today of all days not to work. And so we apologize for the discomfort for those who are here. And certainly we thank the members of the press for coming. We thank you for your questions. We thank the members of Cabinet, the permanent secretaries, the members of the police, and others who are here. And we look forward certainly to seeing you at our next press conference. Thank you, and God bless you.